1. I moved to Northern Carolina about 3 years ago. Lived out in the country, Grass Valley area. Started going to school with a fair bunch of hippie, druggy type kids. The only thing I regularly do is smoke weed. I drink here and then, and have done psilocybin twice, about a year prior to this experience. The experience I had. It was around 10 at night, and I'm lying in bed, trying to get some shut-eye. As I said, I love out in the country. There's one road by my house, it's private, and it's very obvious when someone comes driving through, and not many people do that frequently. I can't remember if I was starting to drift off into sleep or if I was just laying there with my eyes shut trying to. But out of fucking nowhere, I start seeing a bright light in my vision. My eyes are shut. As soon as it appeared, it almost felt as if my focus was heightened, now fixated on this anomaly I'm seeing. In about a span of 1 second, the bright light starts flickering and running down my field of vision, eyes still closed, and making an increasingly louder ringing noise as it flickers and gets closer. Naturally, this scares the shit out of me and I jump out of bed. The next day after school, everyone who smokes weed, me included, go up to the school smoke spot. We engage in our usual social activities. I'm in a circle with some buddies, one of them named Miles. What happened to me that night is the sort of thing we would trip out about and speculate on. Trippy, unexplainable experiences. I decide to bring up what happened to me because it's so fresh in my mind that I just need to share it. As I'm telling the story, people are certainly intrigued. But Miles is standing across from me in the circle looking astonished. "Wait," he says. "That's the same exact thing that happened to me last night too." I'm like, "What the fuck, seriously?" "Yeah, I was just chilling, listening to my iPod, reading a book. And that same thing you're talking about with the lights happened to me." "Around what time did this happen?" I ask. "Around 10 o'clock-ish. We are both incredibly confused and amazed. How did we both experience the same thing in two completely different parts of town? Not only that, but we couldn't have been in any more completely polar situations, me laying in bed, lights off, eyes shut, and him reading a book in a well-lit room. The reason I brought up the road I live by is because my only explanation to myself after it happened was, okay, it must have been a car's headlights passing by, even though it sure as hell did not look or feel like that at all. What in God's name happened to us that night? 2. Bit of backstory. I help out in a charity shop 3 times a week. Usually same time, and always same days, with the occasional extra day thrown in at times. Anyhow, I finished on Thursday as per usual, went shopping to get food to last me until Saturday, and went back to the flat. Come Saturday I woke up, a little lethargic, which was unusual for me. Normally wake and I'm at full speed. Pottered about a bit and set off to the shop. Saturday comes, and when I got outside, one of the neighbors partway down the street cycled past, smiled and gave a thumbs up. This hits me as weird, as I do not get on with the neighbors, but this was just the start. Halfway to the stop, I realize the streets seem empty. Thinking school holidays or something, but realize it's a Saturday, and perhaps, because getting close to noon, folk are inside having dinner, etc. When I turn the corner to the street the shop is on, it is really empty. Compared to even a rainy day, I then notice that one of the other charity shops is closed. Also the cafe next to it. Casually glancing around me, I noticed almost every shop was closed. I knew I could not have been late. Get the phone out, and I see the time is right. But then the shock kicks in. The phone showed 11:32 Sunday. I just stood there, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. I was sure it was Saturday. Sure enough, our shop was closed. In a daze, I wandered to supermarket, bought soup, and headed back to the flat confused as hell. I had no missed calls or texts from the shop the day before, which was Saturday, but I was sure it was Friday. Asking where I was, I began to think perhaps I was on auto the day before and had been to the shop, but blanked it, even though I did not really believe that. Comes to Tuesday, I head to shop, mentioned this to covering manager, never seen her before, and one of the volunteers. They both ask if this has happened before, to which I state no, at least not that I know of. Then again, if it has happened, would I know? They even thought perhaps I had a stroke or seizure or something weird. On Thursday, manager asked if I was okay, and I explained it to her. She said she had not called me because she did not want to appear like she was nagging me to come in, which confirmed for me that I must not have gone in on the actual Saturday. I have never lost time before, especially not a whole day. The food I had bought on the Thursday, half of it was still there. So what the fuck had I done on Saturday? I had not eaten either. This was around 4 to 5 weeks ago now, and I still have absolutely zero memories of Saturday. 3. So I will try to explain as best as I can. I was outside readying the table for evening dinner, when I see this really fast white flash, as if it was my neighbor on the other side of the street, that flashed his headlights directly from his garage. But this seemed a bit more omniscient, in a sense that if any car should flash their headlights into our garden, the hedge would not let this much, trying to describe it, fluorescent white light stream into our garden. I did not think much of it in the moment, as I, per automation, connected it to something else, a reflection, a blown bulb, etc. But then I went just inside, where the kitchen is located, and asking my dad if he saw that, and he instantly replied, "Yeah, I saw a white light, orb, fly through the open door." The way he just said it, put it calmly, and so serious, shocked me. He is not trying to rationalize it, even though being one of the most rationalizing people I know for sure he wasn't trying to make fun of me, as he has never done anything like that. And also the fact that I only asked, "Did you see that?" cutting me off with his response before I could describe what I saw. But then my dad left the topic as I began, "Maybe it was this bulb that popped." He gave it a dash, and it started glowing again, though it was a yellow light bulb and didn't match the color of the short glimpse of this white flash. But he didn't agree or disagree with me, just kept on preparing the dinner, as if the white light were normal, or that he just didn't bother. I know my dad has a history with paranormal activities. He's an academic guy and has a PhD in biology. Just FYI to build the picture. When he first moved into the house, he talked about a green light ghost wandering the house sometimes. Not just on nights, but on mornings around 5 to 8 a.m, when he would brew his morning coffee. The story I heard first when I was 12 to 13 years old, and asked him once if he believed in the paranormal. He didn't say he believed, just told me about this experience, and that one night, when he had had enough of this green light, he stood up from the bed and said that it should stop bothering them. My dad shaking and sweating at the feet of my parents' bed. My mom was present at the time, and when my dad told this story, she didn't make an effort to actually deny, though she rolled her eyes and waited for the conversation to continue. But she sort of seems to deny within herself because she knows how weird it sounds. I followed up on this story every now and then, and he confirms that it was true, but he never wanted me to believe and just sort of rests in himself knowing that there is phenomena like those that can't be explained. I'm still connecting it to something rational, as always, that the biggest chance is that there is some purely coincidental, stupid even, explanation. My two brothers and one of my cousins have heard my dad's tale too, and we've just let it be, whether it was true or false. But today I'm starting to believe it, as my dad seemed experienced, and just handled this weird phenomena so calm, as a veteran only could. 4. So about 5 years back, when I lived in Eugene, I worked at a chain of convenience stores popular in Lane County, called Dairy Mart. We had a regular customer who was very bizarre. An old woman with long white hair who always wore a hooded, long pink down jacket, periwinkle blue sweatpants, and fine leather boots even in the summers. She was deemed the witch by me and my co-workers because she would wait to open the doors to our store after waving her hands in a way that seemed like she was removing a hex or something, and then step over invisible things in the store, like large steps as though she was avoiding tripwires. She would always buy 1 liter of Pepsi and slowly use the same ritual leaving the store. There were times where she would randomly show up outside, and we had a bunch of troublesome customers who lived across the street in a drug house, where multiple people had been arrested for drug dealings, robbing banks, etc. She would also stand in the middle of our lot, facing their house doing dramatic hand motions, which seemed bizarre. Her namesake had become more real, and a glitch factor after realizing she lived in my apartment complex 2 miles away. I used to work night shifts, and I finally got on doing mornings. I realized the witch was at my work more than I ever realized, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, used to regularly pick me up and drive me home. One day, getting off at 3 p.m., the witch came in for her regular routine of hexes and buying her Pepsi, and walked out the door. And my wife arrived while the witch was still in the store. We drove home, which was about a 5-minute drive, and lo and behold, as we pull in the parking lot, at home, 2 miles away, she's already there and staring at us pulling in. We were both baffled. She was a seemingly harmless old woman, and didn't seem to have ill intent towards me as far as I could tell. It just seemed so creepy though, because there was no possible way she could have been there. And we often would see her walking across town. I only saw her get in a car once when her sister-in-law picked her up after calling our store and describing her, and I confirmed she was there. 5. A little background first. Reading all these strange accounts of people finding themselves in parallel dimensions had me remembering my childhood a lot lately, and how my mother and sister always told me I have memories, which I know happened. I can recall sights, smells, sounds, and even thoughts I had pertaining to these events at the time, that never happened according to them. This memory doesn't involve anybody but me and my dog, however, and isn't as dramatic as other dimension glitch stories I've heard. But here goes. I used to spend hours every day after school in the woods around my house, as there were miles of woods in all directions except the north. I was walking to the north, which, if you walked far enough, about a half mile, you'd reach the main highway, which my driveway came off of. We had made this little journey 100 times before, at least, and I knew exactly where I was and where I was going. I have an excellent sense of direction from years of hiking forest with no trails, and I should have been around 30 to 40 yards away from the main road. But I hadn't heard traffic in a while, and the forest kept going on until I got very uncomfortable and didn't realize where I was, which was impossible. The woods were still and silent, almost deafeningly silent, except for our footfalls. My dog remained unusually close to me at this point in the hike, and kept looking up at me, but I was curious and young, and wanted to know where the hell I was going, so we pressed on. We came to a large oval field with beautiful green grass, which was very well taken care of. In the middle of the field was a single apple tree. At the far end of the field was a big white house with red shutters and a red door facing us, probably a quarter mile away. As soon as we reached the field, my dog took off running and barking at the tree. I had to quietly yell at him to come back, but he was on a mission. That's when I got a horrible heavy feeling in my stomach, and my ears began to feel like they were burning. I had to go, and it was urgent. I called my dog a few more times, then I just said fuck it and ran in a straight line, back to recognizable woods. The strange things happen here. When I got far enough back where I recognized the landscape, I began to hear traffic behind me, in the direction I came. I still kept running, until I reached my front yard. I swear this is the absolute truth, and I've never understood how it happened. But when I opened the door, my dog was waiting for me, and I never saw him pass by me on the run back. I remained inside the rest of the day and played video games. I made several attempts to find this place over the next few years, but never would. I've gone in every direction around my house for miles, and even used Google Maps trying to locate the field, and can't find anything but forest for miles, and the main road to the north. 6. So, there's this thing about experiencing glitches that make you trivialize them and throw them in the back of your memory, if not forgetting them altogether. This one I've been meaning to post, but keep putting it off. The other night, a week or so ago, I was doing my daily routine driving back from work about 2 or 3 in the morning EST. There was a big rig, 18-wheeler, driving on the other side of the barrier of a 4-lane highway as me, and it seemed like it had its brights on. Really hurt my eyes. Its main lights dipped beneath the barrier for a second, and I was pretty relieved, especially as I work in an already dark environment. The lights on top of the trailer also dipped. I thought that was strange, but whatever. I can see again. However, I know that the top lights never dip that low compared to the barrier, and normal lights only get a second before I can see them again. This truck never came back out, nor in my rear view did I see any vehicle exit or continue that path behind me. There are no turn-offs here. I drive this road daily, and have never nor since seen anything like this happen. 2. Driving back from Michigan, PA. I drove through an accident scene. Probable it was just luck. All lanes but one were shut down due to a side scrape on one vehicle and the other. Seemingly no damage. Off the road of the embankment. No injuries as far as it looked, but still cops, ambulance, fire truck, etc. We all crawled through the open lane. But no one after me came out, even though I know I left this scene with the next car coming out right behind me. It had to be at least 15 minutes until I saw the next car behind me, after highway entrances. It wasn't hard for me to keep up with the traffic in front of me. Everyone behind ceased to follow. There are 2 or at least 4 more that I can vividly remember, but I always pass this off. 7. In January of 2011, I went to a lock-in at a local indoor skate park, where everyone would skate or bike from 9 p.m. until 9 a.m., and nobody could leave until your parents picked you up in the morning. My friends and I had a great time, and filmed some clips, and it was great. I was 15 at the time. I met a lot of cool people from around the area, and I also noticed these 2 weird kids that were there. They were probably 11 or 12 years old. One kid was fat and had a buzz cut, and the kid he was with was taller, really skinny, and also bald. Not sure if he had health problems or just no hair like Caillou. They sat up on the ramps without a skateboard or bike and just stared at us, and it was pretty weird, but I forgot about it for a long time. Fast forward to summer of 2014. I was skating in my hometown with 2 of my good friends that both skated. After a few hours skating at the middle school, we headed back to my house to play Xbox. We started talking about the skate spots and eventually about the indoor park that I had gone to a few years back. I started telling them the exact story and even described to them the part about the 2 weird kids. Specifically, as I'm talking about the kids I saw, my friend gets a Facebook message sitting next to me. The message came from someone he had no mutual friends with, and all it said was, "Did you hit Ashley?" He had absolutely no idea who the person was, or why he asked that. The person was from a town almost an hour away from us. I was looking at the message, and told him to look through his pictures to see if we recognize him. So my friend starts scrolling through his public profile pictures, and saying that he's never seen him before. I decide to take a look. It was a short fat kid with a buzz cut. I jokingly comment that he looks like the kid from this story I was in the middle of telling them. I take a good look, and I realize that he looks exactly how I remember the kid sitting on the ramp. I start to get a little weirded out, but just think it's a lookalike. I'm clicking further through his pictures, and then it happens. There he is in a picture, with the fucking bald kid, exactly how I remember. I was completely freaked out. So 3 years after, I attended the skate park. I just so happened to be telling my friends about my time at the park, and I just so happened to be telling them about those weird kids at the exact moment that this message just so happens to pop up on my friend's computer. I couldn't believe it. Nothing like this had ever happened to me before. I've had some pretty weird coincidences, but this one blew them all out of the water. My friends didn't think it was very weird, and I was astounded because they barely seemed surprised. Is this not as crazy as I think it is? What are the chances of this happening? Anyway, let me know what you guys think, or if you've ever had a coincidence like this before. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to my Glitch in the Matrix video. If this proves popular, I'll certainly consider doing other videos of a similar theme in the future. And I also took your notes on board regarding the paranormal videos that I mentioned. So from now on, I'll try and keep the paranormal videos at about 5 stories. And, let's see, that's paranormal and also the TIFU. I'll probably up the story count on that as well to about 5. As a rule, the videos about 20 minutes plus always do better than the ones that are a little bit shorter. Bigger really is better when it comes to storytelling, I guess. I'll still keep the true scary stories about 3 stories because lengthwise they're absolutely fine, there's no issues with those. And as I try new things, I'll experiment with numbers and lengths just to see what works best for us. Okay, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.